alongside the Israelites. So that's always been the case. So, but have usurped things and throughout God's order, because the Gentiles do rule the world. So they have made us think that they rule the word of God too. That God, he just dealing with them now. And he stopped dealing with the Jews or the Israelites of the Bible. But Paul cleared that up in Romans 11. He said God haven't cast away his people because he does not change. So, but being that the Gentiles rule the world and the Israelites are in captivity, it's easy to kind of pass that off and say, well, it don't matter who Israel is. Because the Bible lets you know we are living in the times of the Gentiles. So this is going to be more of a historical lesson, because the Bible is full of spiritual and physical things. And we have to understand and deal with both of them. And if you just think the Bible is a book about spirituality, you miss a great portion of the Bible. As a matter of fact, that's how the Bible proves itself to be legitimate, through the historical evidence that's in the Bible. And you can find a lot of the same stuff that's in the Bible documented in man's history books. Just like the Lord telling you about all the nations that would be on the earth and the ones that would rule at different times. Why? Because God is in control of all that. So he told you in the Bible, he called the end from the beginning. He told you how it would be at the end, the nations in control. He told you that at the beginning of time. He called the end from the beginning. And he lets you know ultimately he's going to take over and rule. But being that God is fair, he give everybody a chance to do their thing. That's the way it is. God is something else. He created the earth. He put man on the earth. And basically he said, look, I'm going to let you run this, man. But you need to adhere to me. He gave him all kind of instructions, like I said, through Israel. But man got all the instructions that he need to know from God. Man just choose to ignore it. He just choose to ignore what God is saying. But they know what God is saying. He got a book here that everybody has heard of. You can't go nowhere people haven't heard of this book. So they know what God is saying. I mean, we got scholars, we got all kind of technology. They know every word that's in the Bible. They can put it on a computer, they can flip it upside down, make a graph with it. They know everything, right? They just choose not to follow it. That's why we here today and the majority of the world is ignoring today. And they're going to be operating on tomorrow, which is Sunday, because, again, the Gentiles have told us, well, it changed to the first day of the week. The Sabbath changed from the seventh day to the first day. That's not in this book. And they will admit that it's not in this book. They just said we just changed it because we can. But see, all that go back to the fact that we living in the times of the Gentiles. But what we need to understand, every time comes with a change. Like the saying is, every dog have his day. So things are the way they are now. And we tend to think it's this way. It's been this way for a long time. It's going to continue to be this way. Not realizing when you look through history, eventually, everybody, time run out. Eventually a change come. That's happened throughout history. And God has said it that way because ultimately, like we've been saying, God is the one in control. So, but it's no mystery, brothers and sisters. It's not a coincidence that Gentiles, who the world call white people or whatever, Gentiles rule the whole world. That's not a coincidence with God. It's not like God is shocked by that or don't know nothing about that. No, God said it that way. And then to really understand that we living in the times of the Gentiles, You really have to understand that the past, how God gave other people their time. And that's exactly what he do. He give them an increment of time and say, look, I'm going to get you to here. If you do good, I might give you some more time. But if you still caught up in your foolishness, I'm going to knock you off and let somebody else have a turn. That's why the Bible say God ruleth in the kingdom of men in Daniel. God ruleth in the kingdom of men and put it over that whomsoever he will. God set this up. So we're going to get into it. That's the title, though. The times of the Gentiles ending soon. See, we at the end of the reign of the Gentile. When we say the times, we mean the rulership. We at the end of the rulership of the Gentiles. And you can see the Gentiles you can see it already. They're going haywire. And even Gentile scientists, scholars know, not even believing in the Bible, they know it's just a matter of time before this thing gonna end one way or another. They don't believe the Bible, say they don't think that God gonna step in and take over. But since they don't believe that, they got this doomsday atomic day clock. They say it's just a matter of time to doomsday and kill us all. That's what the scientists say. That's what world-renowned scientists have been saying for 50 or 60 years. It's just a matter of time. They made a symbolic clock. It's not a real clock. They made a symbolic clock, and they adjust their hands according to the climate in the world with the nations and so forth. They adjust their hand toward midnight. And they saying at midnight, boom, it's over. So right now it might be 5 minutes to midnight. They adjusted accordingly. But what they saying by that is that eventually man gonna try to kill us all. And that's just obvious. You got too many weapons. They tell me, well, we're gonna get rid of some of these weapons while you study making some in the back. We're gonna get rid of some. Let's get rid of some of these. And eventually they're not going to be able to keep a grip on things like they've been doing, and it's going to be all out war, and they're going to get ready to blow us all up. But that's when the Lord say he going to step in, because he's already had it planned that he going to intervene once the Gentiles' time is up. That's why he haven't intervened. And that's why can't nobody take over from the Gentiles either. That's why, when back in the 60s, you had brothers talking about black power. The fisting disappeared. They got a nub up there now. That's all left from the black power movement. You know why? Because it's the time of the Gentile. Just like the Arabs, they'll fight a wall. I'm just being honest with you. And the Bible say that. The Bible say Ishmael, which is where the Arabs come from, is a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man against him. And he's not a Gentile. He's Semitic. He come from Shem. And we're going to touch on a little bit of that. But they be fighting the Gentiles and fighting the Gentiles. They can't overthrow the Gentiles. That's why I don't know who knocked the towers down. I ain't going to even claim to know. But whoever knocked the World Trade Center down, they ain't doing nothing else. It's basically like they shot a good shot, and that's it. They wouldn't, like even the one they said did it, hey, he disappeared off the scene until they found him, stuck somewhere. And they went looking for everybody. Even people didn't have nothing to do with it. We're going to get you too, because you knew something about it. You should have told us something. They find the people hiding in holes in the ground. That show you the Gentiles don't play, but the God gave it to them. It's their time. But that time not going to last forever, because nobody time has lasted forever, has it? Nobody time. See, the Gentiles haven't been ruling throughout history. It's documented that other nations and races had great dynasties in the past. It's documented. They can't hide it from you. We heard of the great Egyptian empire, and we heard of people building pyramids and all that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, they let you know that really The first great civilization, it's in the Bible, and we're going to read it. I guess I need to get to it. The first great civilizations was in Egypt. It was in Africa, right? What they call Africa, which is really Ham. They let you know that. Those were the first great civilizations. That's where they say it all started. You know why? Because it was their time. And we so Israel, which is this black people that's cursed, that's not from Ham, we so mixed up, we trying to be some of everybody. Oh yeah, we from them. We from Ham. And then some black people think they Gentiles. You can't be. But that's because Israel is lost. But we're going to get into it. The times of the Gentiles ending soon. And we're just going to start off with something simple in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, just to show you what the Lord has Solomon write point blank. Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 1, go ahead.
To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven.
See, and that's what it is. To everything, brothers and sisters, there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. It's a season and a time for everything. This is the season and the time for the Gentiles to be running, but it's not going to last forever. See, once you understand that, you don't get beside yourself and get mad and all that. You know God is in control of it. So he said, everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Go ahead, verse 2.
A time to be born.
That's a time to be born. We know that. Go ahead.
And a time to die.
See, just as we rejoice at the birth of a baby, that's a time everybody generally rejoice, right? Everybody rejoicing. A baby is born. But just as sure as it was time for that baby to be born, it's going to be a time for that baby to be died, according to everything we know. We don't necessarily want to think about it. You know, when you see a baby born, you ain't think about, well, that baby going to die. But that's really reality. That's what he's telling you here. As soon as you born, you started dying. Everybody that came before us have passed on, right?
Right.
And the older you get, you know you staring down the barrel of death. That's if you get old and don't die sooner. So we know this is just absolute. You can't get away from it. It's a time for everything, a time to be born and a time to die. What else?
A time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted.
See, just like you plant something, it come a time you pluck up what you planted. Go ahead.
A time to kill, a time to heal.
Even a time to kill, he said. Even the Bible say, God said, I kill and I make alive.
That's right.
It's a time to kill, but then again, it's a time to heal. Go ahead.
A time to break down, a time to build up.
See, it's a time to break down, it's a time to build up. So you can take that across the board, but what time we talking about? We talking about it's time for the Gentiles to be ruling, but it's coming to an end. It's going to be a time for their rulership to end because the Lord got something else planned. But he is the one said it this way. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 9 and show you something else he said here. Ecclesiastes 8 and verse 9. I'm sorry. Ecclesiastes 8 and verse 9. Read it when you get it.
All this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt.
See, I seen all this. I checked out all of this stuff and applied my heart unto every work. He said, I'm going to see what everything is about. Applied my heart to every work that is done under the sun. And then he came up with this. He said, and there is a time. Here's another time, because it's a time for everything, right? He said, there is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt. So that in itself lets you know, just because you ruling something, you ruling over somebody, in this case the Gentiles ruling, that if you're not doing it right, you're going to pay the price. It's just that's just what? A matter of time. Because how can you rule over somebody to your own hurt unless somebody eventually going to come get you for what you're doing wrong? They're going to get you and the Bible is full of warning you that God hate oppression. He hate for you to oppress people and do people in. He hate that. And eventually you got to answer. Just like Pharaoh. fit that case, and the Gentiles fit it now. Pharaoh fit that case in Egypt, brothers and sisters. They had been ruling over Israel, but they got so ugly with their rulership, hey, they ruled over Israel to their own hurt in the end, didn't he?
That's right.
And the Lord came through there and cleaned house. He cleaned Pharaoh's clock. And he did it on purpose. He planned it. He's like, I'm going to clean his clock. I ain't going to let him, it's too late. It's like you done crossed the line now. You can't let him go now. But then that shows you how awesome God is. He gave him the opportunity. If he just could have came to reality and said, I can't win this fight, but he couldn't imagine that he couldn't win that fight. His heart was too hard. He couldn't imagine that he couldn't win this fight. Who is there out there that Moses know that can beat me? That's the way he was thinking. Don't you know that's the same way the Gentiles thinking now? You got crazy looking people like us telling them your time is about up. They like, he's so funny. Don't you know we got FBI, we got CIA, we got all the alphabet groups. But again, we talking about the Almighty God. He made the alphabet. You can't get around him. So that's what happened with Pharaoh. That's the same situation the Gentiles in. They ruling, they going to do what they want to do, and they don't think nobody can stop them, but their time is running out. It's been already foretold in the scripture. Lord then called it already. And knowing that he called the past accurate, stuff that was going to happen, and it happened, we know this is going to happen. There ain't no doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. Whether I see it or not, I know it's going to happen. So he said, there's a time when one man ruleth over another man till his own hurt. Let's go to Luke 21 and show you that Jesus hit the nail on the head concerning this. And we'll come back here at the end of the lesson once we done got a thorough understanding on how and that the Gentiles' time must end. And it's going to end soon. They've been ruling a long time now. But they ain't the only ones that rule this earth. God give everybody a chance. He give everybody a time. There's a time for everything. Luke 21 and verse 24. One verse. Luke 21 and verse 24. Jesus was letting his people know that was in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land, that their time was going to be short there, that their time was running out. Because we inherited the Holy Land, but we sinned repeatedly against God, and God said, I'm going to kick you all out of here. Your time is coming to an end here. You're going to get out of here. And look where we at now. We in slavery all over. See, that's another example on how God then called it. Like what Jesus said here. What did he say? 21 and 24. Read it.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive to all nations.
Now, this is how you can identify the real Jews or Israelites, brothers and sisters. They had to be led away as slaves, captives, into all nations. So everywhere they at to this day, this shows you how accurate the Bible is. To this day, where they are at, they got there by being taken as slaves. And you look over here, you got one group of people. Everybody else came here looking for a better way. You got one people here that was brought here catching a hard time. Right. One group of people as slaves. Same thing anyway. You go to the islands, you go to even places in Africa, Israel is suffering by the hand of other people that look similar to them, but they still not the same nation. European countries, same thing. Because Jesus can't lie, can he? So he said, his people, the people in the promised land, he said, they're going to fall by the edge of the sword. That means you in your land and the Lord going to let somebody come in and get you and knock you off. So they're going to come in and start killing you, because that's how they take over. They kill up a bunch of people, and the ones that survive, they figure out what to do with the ones that's left, that they didn't kill. And in this case, he's saying they're going to ship you all out of here. You're not going to be able to stay here. So he said, they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. Not just even America, That's why this lesson is not the times of America ending soon. It's the times of the Gentiles, because the Gentiles cover all the Gentile nations. Because, see, they ruling as a whole. They ruling together. But it's no coincidence that they rule everywhere. You say, well, they don't rule somewhere in Africa. That's because they don't care enough about it. And anytime they want to, they can go take what they want. Anytime they get ready. They showed you that with Hussein. They didn't do nothing. They the ones propped him up. It's like they said, look, we made you, we'll break you. You're going to thumb your nose at us. We set you up. We'll knock you down whenever they get ready. But it's not just because they so wise and they so smart and they got all. It's because God given them their time. That's what you have to understand. It's their time. Read that again, verse 24.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
Into all nations. Now, what about your homeland or your capital? Go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Now, the people got kicked out the Holy Land. Jesus prophesying of it, so it hadn't been complete when he said it, because he's talking about the future. This really kicked in 70 AD. Jesus died in approximately 30 AD. So some 40 years after Jesus was making this statement, that's when the Romans took over Jerusalem, which are Gentiles, and they killed up a bunch of people and shipped the remaining people into captivity. You can look at documented history and see that happened in 70 AD. You can look up a guy by the name of Vespasian, who was emperor, his son Titus, who was over the army. They surrounded Jerusalem and Israel, and they knocked them off. And they shipped, and even history book tell you they shipped the remaining people. They shipped them throughout all the Mediterranean. Shipped them out. But Jesus has said it before it happened. See, people think Jesus is always just spiritual. You know, he casting out devils, he healing. Look, he telling you about some earthly stuff, isn't he?
Right.
He telling you about some history before it happened. That show you know you're dealing with God when he going to tell you the history before it happened. That's some kind of history book right there. This what the Bible is. He said they're going to fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trod down of who? The Gentiles.
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
How long again?
Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
So one thing we know, it's not forever. They're not going to rule forever, right? Or they're not going to trod down, in this case, they're not going to trod down Jerusalem. But the reason why they're able to trod down Jerusalem is because they in charge. They ruling. So he said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Or in other words, till their time is up. You see, Jesus told us what the title of the lesson is right here. We didn't make it up at all, did we? That's the title, The Times of the Gentiles Ending Soon. It got to end soon. Well, it got to end eventually. We know it's soon from the sign. But right. It got to end according to what Jesus said. He said until their time is fulfilled. Right? That lets you know God has ordained their time in advance. They got a set time, and they're not going to go across that line. Just like you got a set time. God do it with nations. He do it in your life. He might give you the opportunity to get your act together and quit sinning. He said, look, I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z. I'm going to give you to right here. You better get your act together before you get right here. And that's the scary thing. You don't know what right here is. You don't know what number that is. That could be 35. That could be 40 for somebody. You don't even know when it is. But he didn't say it. He said, look, your days is numbered. And you better get your act together while you have time. That's why the Bible even said, do what? Seek the Lord while he may be found. Because eventually your time going to be up. Everybody get a time. But now, let's go to Genesis 9. But that's it right there. Jesus said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Until that time run out. Let's show you though. See, the way to really understand that God gave the Gentiles their time is to understand that he gave people in the past their time. Particularly all the sons of Noah, and it was only 3. Genesis 9 and 1. See, that's why we in a school, so we need to go to school. And that's what we do. This is going to be like a history lesson. Genesis 9 and 1. Go ahead.
And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
See, this is where everything basically started over, because the Lord started with Adam and Eve, but then when man made them mad, they got so wicked in Noah's time, then the Lord said, I'm going to kill them all, and he only saved Noah and his 3 sons and their 3 wives and Noah's wife, 8 people. He said, I'm going to start from scratch. But see, this time he did something. He said, look, he's going to even make nations at this time. So he blessed Noah and his sons, which was 3, and said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. Why? Because the Lord had destroyed the earth. He had destroyed man off the earth with a flood at this time. But so he wanted them to rebuild it, though, start from scratch. I'm going to give y'all another chance. Skip over to verse 18 and go ahead.
And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark was Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan.
Okay, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. See, everybody living today come from one of these sons. See, this is the real breakdown. And this show you know, when you get into racial stuff, you got racial tensions and people. Look, we all come from the same brothers. And we all family, technically. That's why, you know, race is just a built-in thing to keep people divided, really. That's all it is. Because what difference do it really make? I don't care if you black or white or green or blue, you got to go sit on the same type of toilet. It don't even matter. So, and we all, just like he said in Acts, he said, of one blood he made all nations. So we all come from the same father, ultimately. Noah is all our father, and Adam is all our father, because Noah came from Adam. But the Lord is starting it over with them, these 3 sons. And so we need to understand really the term where Gentile come from, because Gentile, it come from one of these sons. So really when you look at it, God then broke it down by these 3 sons, even though Gentile come from one of these sons. It's a bunch of nations that make up the Gentile. Just like you don't have one white nation. You got all kind of white nations. You got, example, you got some Greeks, you got some Italians, you got some French, and you got Russian. We can go on and on for a long time. But all of them are Gentiles, technically. Even though they different nations. Same thing with some of the what we call Africa, whole lot of African nations, or really the name was Ham, whole lot of Hamites, there's just not one black group. And then most people don't know about Shem at all, the other son, which is where Israel come from.
Right.
But he said, and the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark, Shem, he was the oldest, then Ham, then it said, and Japheth. And then it tells you a little insight. It said Ham is the father of Canaan. Now keep in mind, Canaan was the promised land that God gave to Israel. It was occupied by the Canaanites at first, and we're going to see that. But he come from Ham. And most people understand that the Hamites, just like the Gentiles are basically Europeans and white people, the Hamites were basically the black people. And then Shem kind of got a mixture across the board. Because you got some people that's not, like you got Arabs, even the so-called Jews, which are Edomites. Hey, they not Ham or they not Gentiles. They fit in the middle, basically. They come from Shem. And we come from Shem. And we're going to identify that a little bit. Go ahead, verse 19.
These are the sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread.
See, now that's the key. These are the sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread, and that's to this day. So everybody living come from one of Noah's sons. That means you're going to fall under one of these categories, Shem, Ham, or Japheth. But now, go to the 10th chapter. Right into the 10th chapter and pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them sons born after the flood.
So that's how it started growing. Yeah, they had to start having children. And the unique thing here is that their children grew into nations. That's how we got all these nations and colors and different languages and nationalities that started with just 3 men. But the Lord is able to do that. So he said, these are the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. See, they were on the other side of the flood, but they started having children after the flood was over. Verse 2.
These are the sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Midian, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus.
So it mentioned Japheth first, and these sons end up growing into nations. Like he mentioned Javan, some of these like the Greeks and so forth. The Russians come out of here. All of these boys grew into nations. Go ahead.
And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz.
And even grandsons was nations. Go ahead.
Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elishah and Tarshish and Kittim and Dodom. Now these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue and after their families in their nation.
Oh, wait a minute. Now we see where Gentile first pop up in the Bible at, brothers and sisters. See, Gentile in the New Testament is used rather loosely, and most people think that Gentile, because they use it loosely, they think that Gentile mean everybody outside of the Jews. But that's just a loose definition. That's not the real definition. They kind of use Gentile to fit more like heathen do. Heathen do mean everybody outside of the chosen people of Israel. That's what heathen mean. It mean all the nations. But Gentile, they use it loosely in the New Testament, so I get it, like Paul said, the Jew first, then the Gentile. But really, if you get technical with it, and what the Lord is showing you when he was talking about the times of the Gentile, Gentile only is the sons of Japheth, according to this. That's why he said it. Because he's talking about the sons of Japheth, he said Gomer, Magog, Mediah, Javan, Tubal, Meshach. Verse 3, he said, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elishah, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodom. Then at verse 5, he said it, by all these sons and grandsons were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue. So you got different languages, different lands, families came from these, and he said, in their nations. So this is where the term Gentile originated, and it only refers to one of Noah's sons, the one named Japheth or Japheth. That's the only one it referred to. So when we say it's the times of the Gentiles and the Gentiles are almost up, he's talking about the sons of Japheth. It's their time. Now what does that tell you? If it's their time, what about the other sons? Did they get a time? Absolutely, they got a time. And that's what we're going to look at first before we get to the Gentile, because the Gentiles end up with the last time before the Lord come back. But let's go further. Keep reading.
And the sons of Ham.
Now he's dealing with another one of Noah's sons. He only had 3, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So now the sons of Ham is Cush. Now you can look Cush up. That's the original name for who? The Ethiopians. That's who Cush is. So again, we're talking about real nations. That's here. The sons of Ham, Cush, go ahead.
Mizraim.
Mizraim, that's actually the name for the Egyptians. before they started being known as Egyptians. Go ahead.
And Foot in Canaan.
Foot in Canaan, Syrians, and then Canaan, that is the ones who had the promised land before he took it from them and gave it to Israel. But most people don't understand that when God took the promised land from Canaan and gave it to Israel, it wasn't just that he wanted to do something good for Israel. What was also going on is that Canaan and the Hamites' time was up. See, everybody got their time. It's a time for everything. See, their time had run out. So I'm basically going to tell you, and we're going to see it in the lesson, what the Lord did. He gave each one of Noah's sons their time. And the first one that had that time was the one named Ham. This is where the majority of the black races came from, black nationalities came from. Ham, which is what we know as Africans. That's what some of us, when we try to do a little research, we figure we come from them. They had me so confused. I started taking some historical class in college. I didn't know what the man was talking about. Where we from? Timbuktu. He started saying all kind of stuff. But that's because they don't know. Ghana, he started showing me, you see, you come from a rich heritage. Yeah, which one? He never got to that. This was an African class in college. Supposed to be some history class. But he couldn't get down to where we came from because we've been cut off from it. And the only way we know who we are is because the Bible told you what would happen to us. So, but Ham had his time in the beginning to rule these African nations. Then when their time was up, the Lord gave it over to Shem, Noah's oldest son. And then he ruled. That's when Israel had a great dynasty, but we're going to find out it wasn't just Israel. Then once Shem time was up, that's when it became the times of the Gentiles. And their time going to last to the end because they the last son of Noah to rule over this earth, to have their time. So notice he said the sons of Ham, he named them, these are black nations, Cush, Mizraim, Foot, and Canaan. I told you Cush is Ethiopian. Mizraim is Egypt. Egypt is a black nation originally. Now the people ruling Egypt are Arabs right now. They not from Ham. They rule in Egypt now, but they wasn't the original occupants of Egypt. King Tut and all the other pharaohs back in the day, they were black Hamites. Foot and Canaan. But go ahead, verse 7.
And the sons of Cush, Sheba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Ramar, and Septica, and the sons of Ramar, and Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod.
So now a lot of these sons and grandsons, again, they was making nations out of this. See, and right now we don't really know much. We hear a lot about the Gentiles because the Gentiles running it, and they telling the story. But we know it was other dynasties in the past, but you don't hear a lot. You can't get in depth about it because, hey, it's so far removed. But we going to see where it all started at. It started with these Hamites, and they'll tell you that where civilization started in Africa. That's true. The first dynasties was in Africa. And with Hamites, which what black people like me and you that come from Shem, we don't know them not our ancestors. We so dumb. We think them our ancestors. Because we try to grab on anybody. Yeah, I'm from them too. See, and just like you got some blacks, they ain't did enough research. They be talking about, I met a brother, he in the word to this day. I met a brother, he was calling himself a Gentile when I was working for 7-Up. We was driving home from work, and he said, ain't that so wonderful? I was trying to just be nice because he knew I knew about the Bible, and he was testing me out. He said, man, I heard you know about the Bible. Brother, he go to the Israel of God to this day. This is back in 1990 sometime. And he said, I heard you know about the Bible. I said, yeah, I know a little bit. He said, yeah, I'm a Bible scholar too. I thought to myself, we going to see in a minute. And he let me know. He let me know right off. He started saying, yeah, well, you know, isn't it wonderful that God, after he got through dealing with the Jews, he gave us Gentiles a chance. And I tried to ignore it as long as I could. And then finally I said, Steve, you are not a Gentile. He's like, what? And I just lit into him and just told him all kind of stuff. But the bottom line, he thinking he a Gentile. But that just shows you how lost we are. But any blacks, you know, from Israel that's lost, that do any research, they come up with being Ham. Like we got a lot of brothers now talking about they Egyptologists and they from Egypt. You're not from there either. But that's not understanding that there's plenty of black races. Remember, the Egyptians had the Israelites enslaved, so that was black on black crime. That's why it's not even a black and white thing. You act like it's a black and white thing. It's just black against white. Look, blacks had blacks enslaved too. That's just the setup now, and that's the setup because we living in the times of the Gentiles right now. It's their time to rule. So he said, look, and verse 8, Cush, which was Ethiopian, go ahead, Cush begot who?
And Cush begot Nimrod.
Now, one of the first great leaders who started a dynasty was this guy named Nimrod. He was the first. Cush begot Nimrod. And what did Nimrod do?
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He put some stuff together. He said, I'm going to organize this stuff. Go ahead.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord.
See, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord, and they had a saying about him. He became so renowned. You know, and I guess back in them days, they did have to worry about a big issue was dealing with animals, because they ain't have animals so tame like they got them now. I mean, you still got to be careful being in the wrong place with an animal, right? So think about it back then. They didn't have all that. And just like that's one of the reasons the Lord told Israel. He said, look, when I take you into the promised land, I'm not going to knock off all the Canaanites. I want you to kill a bunch of them up, but I'm not going to knock all the Canaanites up, because you know what he said? He said, if I kill all them Canaanites and you all to just be a few people in that land, he said the animals will multiply on y'all and get y'all. That's exactly what the Lord told him. He said them animals will gang up and get y'all. You'd be a handful of y'all. Them animals will run y'all. So he said, I'm going to leave some Canaanites around so y'all, it'll be some help. So that was a big concern in those days. So, but it said he was a mighty one before the Lord. Then what it said, verse 10.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
And the beginning of his kingdom. This the first time this is in the Bible. What? Kingdom. Because he started a kingdom. The first one. And the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom, and no coincidence, it was Babel. That's where it all started. You know what Babel means? Babel means to confuse. And ultimately, when they start putting these kingdoms together, they still got people off track from believing in the Lord, because they start running things the way they wanted to run it. That's why the Lord came down and scattered the tongues at the Tower of Babel. But it means to confuse. And that's where the word, guess what? Babylon come from. It means to confuse. And that's poetic, because in the end, the Lord still look at it as this, and he still call it Babylon. Because even when the Gentiles started, that was the beginning of their thing, Babylon. Because basically the Lord got it too, where you ain't really running it till you run that area over there in what we call the Middle East, because that's where everything started from. So the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Go ahead, and what else?
And Erech.
And
Arcad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher and built Nineveh and the city Rehoboth and Calah.
And what else?
And risen between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city.
The same as a great city. So this is when dynasties start coming in. But who is it? If you don't get nothing else, you should know we talking about Ham. Ham started this thing off for civilization. Ham, that's why they got it all dark. They say the first people that's writing and doing all that kind of stuff, it was these people, Hamites. Not even our ancestors. It was Hamites. Before we was even born and getting started, Hamites was doing the stuff. They had kingdom. They started writing and coming up with alphabet, all kind of stuff. The Hamites was doing it. And that's what we call Africans nowadays. They was doing it. But now, skip down to verse 20 because Noah got one other son. And that's the one where the promise went down to, Shem. But go ahead, verse 20.
These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongue, in their countries, and in their nation.
So they spread out just like the Japhet did. But it called Japhet, it said, by his sons were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands and their countries and their tongue. So Japhet is the Gentile. It didn't give Ham no separate designation. It just said these are the sons of Ham after their families, tongues, and countries and nations. So we got two of the three sons of Noah seeing that they populating, but we see the first one building kingdoms and dynasty was the Hamites, the sons of Ham. Go ahead to verse 21.
Unto Shem also the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born.
Now he had children. So he's starting a race of people as well. And you got a lot of different shades come from him. You got some dark-skinned people like us that come from Shem. You got some, you got in between people like Arabs. You can't call them black or white, really. And Arabs know they're not Gentiles. Even so-called Jews, who we know are Edomites, they call them Jews. They know they're not Gentiles. And the Gentiles know they're not Gentiles. We the only ones don't know much. We put them all in the same bag. But they know they're not Gentiles. So, because they come from Shem. This guy, that's why they use the term Semitic all the time, because that come from Shem. Go ahead.
And the children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxadad, and Lud, and Aram, and the children of Aram.
That's good. Skip to verse 31. Skip to verse 31 to wrap this up.
These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongue, in their lands, after their nations.
So what we saw is that the Lord made all kind of nations from Noah's three sons. He made all kind of nations from Noah's three sons. And each son represents, you could say, a race of people. You got the sons of Japhet, which are the Gentiles. All those nations make up Gentiles. You got the nations that came from Ham. They make up the Hamitic nations. And you got the nations that came from Shem. They make up the Semitic nations. All those that come from Shem. But you got all kind of nations from Noah's three sons. And what we showing is that the Lord gave each one their chance to rule. Who ruled first? Ham ruled first. They had great dynasties of civilization in the beginning. But go ahead, finish that.
These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
By these three sons. Now, go right into this history. We're going to come back to Genesis in a little bit. Go right into this history right here. New Compact Bible Dictionary. We read it a lot because this tells a whole, it speaks volumes in one paragraph. They should have it up there because we didn't have a lot of paper to make all these copies. But it's the New Compact Bible Dictionary under Ham. Now I saw an Edomite recently saying that, Zondervan, who made this dictionary, somebody named Zondervan, wrote this dictionary. They said, they just messed up. They didn't know what they was talking about, and they just messed black people up telling them this stuff in here. Look, it ain't no reason for the man to write this stuff unless they know what they're talking about. And like everything else, you come up with more than one source. That's how you back it up anyway. That's why we don't just have the New Compact Bible Dictionary. We got something else that we're going to read, and it's all equaling the same thing. So New Compact Bible Dictionary under Ham, go ahead and read it. They don't have it up there.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood.
So it said Ham is the youngest son of Noah, born about 96 years before the flood. Go ahead.
And one of 8 persons to live through the flood.
And one of 8 people, because, we Noah and his wife and the 3 boys and 8 wives. Go ahead.
He became the progenitor of the dark race.
No reason for him to write this. This is fact. No reason for him to just make something up. And we know it to be true. That's why many of us have thought we came from Ham, because it's proof positive that Ham had the majority of the dark races. It said he became the progenitor, which means the father or producer, the father of the dark races. Go ahead.
Not the Negro.
But then he put in there purposely knowing that Negroes came from somewhere else. And we didn't know where the heck we come from, so we didn't write it. And he don't have no reason to lie. See, they got the history. We didn't have the history. We were trying to keep from getting hung on some trees. They said, you ain't running with no books. You leaving everything when you worried about that. Even people in my family had sayings. My mother had a saying, you doing something, you do something, they get you for that. She said, yeah, catching come for hanging though. Because you're going to try to get away. But the bottom line is, we didn't write this. He said this guy became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. But who?
But the Egyptians.
But the Egyptians, which was named in the Bible, it said Mizraim. Go ahead.
Ethiopians.
That was called Cush in the Bible. See, it's not even named in those biblical names. It's giving you the modern names. The Egyptians, the Ethiopians, who else?
Libyans.
See, that was foot. It didn't even give you foot, P-H-U-T. Go ahead.
And Canaanites.
And it gave you that. I guess they ain't got no different name. So it gave you that. That's the same name that was in the Bible. And that's why I quote what we just read, Genesis 6 through 20, right? Genesis 10, 6 through 20. It quoted, because that's where they was listed at. These are dark-skinned people. That's what Ethiopia means. It means a dark skin, a burnt skin. Egypt mean black. That's what the word means. That's why the Gentiles came up with them names. But the original name was Cush, Ethiopia, Mizraim, etc. Go ahead, finish that.
His indecency, when his father lay drunken, brought a curse upon Canaan.
See, and we didn't read that. You could have read that in the 9th chapter. Ham did something, and it brought a curse upon Canaan, his son. But now, so we see that the Hamites, Ham did have dark races, but not all dark races, because the Negroes come from somewhere else. Let's make sure, because the guy said, I heard and saw a video, Edomite said, oh, Zondervan didn't know what he was talking about. He just said that. He just want to mess them Negroes up. Well, World Book Encyclopedia said something too. World Book Encyclopedia, this is volume 9, under Hamite. Now, go ahead, read that.
Hamite is a member of a group that entered Africa from Asia long ago. In some area, the Hamites conquered the Negroes and mixed with them. That means
that Negroes are not Hamites according to this, right?
That's right.
Negro, and it's only one other possibility, because you absolutely couldn't be from Japhet, Gentiles. We come from Shem, which is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then we got proof positive that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their descendants had to be black, because they the ones end up under a curse. And it's the black people that got cursed, according to exactly what the Bible said. So he said in some areas the Hamites conquered the Negroes. That lets you know Negroes were not Hamites. See, Negro is just a nickname anyway. We got cut off from who we were. And that's why it was easy for the Hamites to even do us in, because we not from the same race of people. They knew it. See, we the ones didn't know it. We the ones think it's a black thing. They know better. They look at you like you stink. And you be wondering, what I do? Because they know you not the same as them. Even though ultimately we all brothers and sisters, But when it comes to race, hey, it's a difference. That's why I said the Hamites conquered the Negroes and mixed with them. That's what was going on in Egypt. That was Hamites conquering a people who later became Negroes, which originally we the Israelites. But go ahead.
Hamites have narrow noses, thin lips, and brown skin. They live in East, North, and Northeastern Africa.
Okay, that's good. So we got two sources telling you about Ham being dark, but he's not the father of all the dark race, particularly he's not the father of the Negro. Now let's back that up with the Bible, Psalm 105 and verse 23, and we're going to show you that right here. Because Noah's other son, Shem, has some dark races, some middle to the road, shade nations, etc. Like I said, who come from Shem? We come from Shem, a dark-skinned people. Who else come from Shem? Arabs come from Shem. So-called Jews come from Shem. And you could go on, a bunch of, like some of them people. See, we assume all the people over there are Arabs that's Muslim. No, the Arabs converted a lot of those nationalities over there. For instance, the Bible mentioned nations like Jordan, Ammon and Moab. Ammon and Moab, those nations that come from Lot, they Semitic. They come from Shem. Abraham's nephew was Lot. That's where they come from. But a lot of them are Muslim, so you assume they all must be Arabs, but they not. Psalm 105 and verse 23, read it.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
See, back in the day, it said Israel came into Egypt. That was the name that God gave Jacob. But it's reiterating what it's saying. It said Israel came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. That's just a repeat of what he just said. But what it lets you know, because Israel and Jacob is the same, it lets you know Egypt and Ham is the same. Egypt is in Ham. Because before it was called Africa, brother and sister, it was just called Ham. The land of Ham. That's the area where all them black folks was living at. Matter of fact, Africa was named from a Roman general. But the original name is just Ham. Came from Noah's youngest son. So Israel came into Egypt and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. So when they try to tell you, now they try to confuse the issue, say, well, the Egyptians, they wasn't black. They wasn't never black. You are lying. The Bible telling you they Hamites. And we know Ham is black. And that's why they didn't confuse the issue. They done came up with a whole term from the region called the Middle East. Middle East of what? What continent is it on? They don't want to tell you that. What continent is it on? It's on Africa. That's the continent that is on. I know Middle East. It's on Africa, but they try to confuse the issue so you don't really know what's going on. But we see right here, Egypt is in Ham, and we should know Israel, the promised land, got to be in Ham because it belonged to the Egyptians' brother, which was who? Canaan, who come from Ham. All of them come from Ham. It's just like you're going to say Egypt is in the Middle East, but Ethiopia is in Africa. They brothers. They right by each other. They all mentioned in Genesis 10. He said Cush, Mizraim, Cush, Phut, and Canaan. So all that land is what we call Africa, but the Bible called it Ham. So it said Israel came into Egypt and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. That's when we first went down there during Joseph's time. Go ahead, 24.
And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies.
See, he made them stronger. See, it's evident that Israel didn't come from Ham. They come from Shem. So we started getting strong, and what the Hamites, the Egyptians, started to do. Go ahead.
He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. he sent Moses his servant and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham.
See, they showed Moses and Aaron was in Egypt. But that lets you know Egypt is Ham. So how you going to tell me the Egyptians, oh, they wasn't never black? And you got artifacts they done dug up with King Tut, Tutankhamun, and all kind of other stuff. But somebody just trying to keep the issue confused because the truth is getting out. When you start pulling the wool off people's eyes, people be trying to patch it back on there. Because I heard some so-called people on TV supposed to be scholars say, well, no, they wasn't black. You lying. It said they showed his signs among them, Aaron and Moses, when they was in Egypt. But he said here, in the land of Ham. In the land of Ham. But notice why everything was going on around Ham, started with Ham, because it was their time. It was their time when they was ruling over Israel and had Israel enslaved, the Egyptians. It was their time. Canaan had their land. Ethiopia had their land. All of them was doing pretty good. It was their time to do good. Now, let's go further. Go to Genesis 15. Back up to Genesis 15. And pick it up at 13. Go ahead, read it when you get it.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs.
Now, he told Abraham years ago, once Abraham came on the scene, he came on the scene years later from Genesis 10 when all those nations was being made because the Lord was still making nations, though. See, he started great nations with Abraham. That was years later. So he told Abraham don't have nothing yet. He don't have no children yet. He said, look, you're going to have some children and you're going to have some seed. And eventually what's going to happen, they're going to be in a strange land. They're going to be afflicted. Well, we just was reading about it when they was dealing with Israel in Egypt. This is what he was referring to Abraham about. He said, know assured. He told him, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. That land became Egypt. Go ahead.
And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
400 years. Brothers be talking about 400 years now, but that was referring to Egypt. That's been done. Go ahead.
And also that nation whom they shall serve.
Because it's one nation, and right now Israel scattered in many nations. So this couldn't be referring to our slavery now. Hey, we all over the place. But here was one nation, and he brought us out by the hand of Moses. And that nation, he said, whom they shall serve, he going to do what?
Will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
He said, I'm going to judge, and I'm going to bring them out, because God is the judge. You do evil, he going to eventually do some evil to you too. Go ahead.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
He said, you're going to go ahead and die in a good old age and be buried, Abraham. But I'm telling you about your children, your seed. What's going to happen to them?
But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Oh, you see that? You should pay attention to stuff like this. You think this is just something to read over? No, the Lord is giving you some insight how he do things. He said they're going to be enslaved in Egypt, and I'm going to bring them out. And see, Abraham was around the promised land, but he didn't own the promised land. The Canaanites was running the promised land when Abraham was there. Which Canaan had some sons. He had a bunch of sons that made nations too. One in particular were the Amorites. One in particular were the Amorites. So he said what? In the fourth generation, they're going to come hither. Why? Again, he said, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. See, that says a lot. What do you mean the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full? God is saying, I have given the Amorites so much time before I deal with them. They got so much time that they can mess up or do right, but they got so much time for their iniquity run out. And when they get that time is up, when the cup get full, I'm going to deal with them. God is saying I can't deal with them until their iniquity is full, That's the way God operates. He give everybody a chance. Right. That's why God haven't cracked the sky and come back and killed up everybody. Because he give you the time. It ain't that he okay with the way things are going. It's just that he stick to his plan. He's patient. He said, I'm going to give him so much time. So that's what he's saying here. He said, they not going to come here right away. They're going to come in the fourth generation. Why? Because the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. That's just like he said that Jerusalem going to be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles is what? Fulfilled. Until it's full, really. Until it's filled up. That's what it means. But now let's go further. Go to Deuteronomy 7. And let's show you when Israel came out now. When they came out of Egypt, he told them who you think they was dealing with first. They was dealing with those Amorites. See, because they couldn't take it over. So what's going on, what you need to get is that when Israel got the promised land, it wasn't just that God was blessing Israel with some land and that's all it was about. God dealing on multiple fronts that we don't even know about. No, think about it. God deal with everybody. Sometimes we got a small group here. Sometimes you think it's just you looking at it from your angle. God looking at everybody's angle. And think about all the people in the world, how many angles that is. He looking at all the angles. So he ain't just looking at what Israel is doing and what he doing for Israel. He looking at what them Amorites doing. And he going to treat them fair. Look, I'm going to give the Amorites their time. I'm going to give everybody their time. That's the way God is. 7:1, Deuteronomy 7:1. Go ahead.
When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it.
When you get there, go ahead.
And have cast out many nations before thee.
He going to kick out some nations. Go ahead.
The Hittites and the Girgasites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites.
See, all
and
these
the
Hamites. Go ahead.
And the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
See, he said, I'm going to kick all of them out. Notice, all of them come from Ham. You know why the Lord is kicking all of them out? Not just to bless Israel, because their time is up. The Amorites' time, just like he said, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Right here, the iniquity is full. The Lord said, I'm done with them. They didn't reach the top of the cup. They didn't filled it up. Now I'm getting ready to deal with them. Go ahead.
And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
He said, don't show no mercy to them. Now let's go to the 2nd chapter of Deuteronomy. Back up to the 2nd chapter. So now, when you get to this stage in the Bible, the time, Ham's time was up, brothers and sisters. That's what was going on. That's why the Israelites took over the promised land. But what you gonna find, see, we think it's just about us sometimes. It wasn't just about Israel. It was about all the Semitic people, all the sons from Shem. It was their time. See, it wasn't just Israel. That's what you got to understand. Ham time was up. It was Shem time. Shem was taking over across the board, brothers and sisters. It wasn't just about Israel, and you're going to see that right here. Deuteronomy 2, and pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spake unto me, and we compassed Mount Seir many days.
Mount Seir, that's the land of the Edomites, and they already was there by this time. And we're going to see how they got there. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn ye northward. And command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau.
That's the so-called Jew to this day. And where they dwell at, by the way?
Which dwell in Seir.
They dwell in Seir, so keep that in mind. It come up later. Go to Seir is where they dwell, which is south of Israel's land. But they hadn't always dwelt there, because Hamites was running it before Israel and the Edomites, Esau, and the Arabs came on the scene. Hamites was running it. So he said, Esau, gonna pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir. How should you deal with them? Go ahead.
And they shall be afraid of you.
They're going to be afraid because everybody heard what the Lord did to the Egyptians, how he brought Israel out. So everybody was shook. But if you're afraid, you might get a little defensive too. Go ahead.
Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore.
Why?
Meddle not with them.
Meddle not with them. Go ahead.
For I will not give you of their land.
He said, I won't give you their land. See, God wasn't giving Israel just any land or all lands. No, he was particular. He was giving them this land known as the promised land. It was particularly to the Canaanite. But he said, I'm not giving you. Don't meddle with the Edomites, the so-called Jews. Don't meddle with them. I'm not going to give you their land. No, not what?
Not so much as a footbreadth.
He said, I'm not going to give you an inch of their land. Go ahead.
Because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession.
Oh, you mean God gave them land, huh? He said, I've given Mount Seir to Esau for a possession. And that's why he greedy. He going to take our land now that we went into slavery. But the Lord going to address that. Go ahead.
Ye shall buy meat of them for money, that ye may eat. And ye shall also buy water of them for money, that ye may drink. For the Lord thy God hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand.
Go ahead.
He knoweth thou walking through this great wilderness these 40 years. The Lord thy God hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing.
Okay, verse 8.
And when we passed by from our brethren, the children Esau, which dwelt in Seir, through the way of the plain from Elith and from Ezan-Gebar, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab.
Now they going by the Moabites. Some more Semitic people from Shem. See, Esau come from Shem. Moab come from Shem. Let's see what he said about them. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto me, distress not the Moabites, neither count with them in battle. Contend with them in battle. For I will not give thee of their land for a possession.
He said, I'm not giving you their land either. So he's not giving them Esau land. He's not giving them Moab's land. Go ahead.
Land for a possession, because I give Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. The Emims dwelt therein in times past. A people great and many and tall as the Anakims.
Okay, so now, notice he even giving you the history of the land. He said, I'm not giving you Moab land. I'm not going to give you Moab land because I gave that to them. He said some other people dwelt there. You know who the other people were? They were Hamites. He even telling you they was like tall giants. They was Hamites. See, it don't matter the size. It don't matter how big you are. It don't matter how much technology you got. When the Lord say your time is up, your time is up. See, all these tall Hamites was ruling in the beginning. But then when their time was up, the Lord knocked them all off. He didn't just give Israel the promised land. He gave Esau some land from Ham. He gave Moab some land. He gave Ammon for some land. He even gave the Arabs land. That's how they got a foothold. All the sons of Shem, it was their time now. Go ahead.
Which also was accounted giants as the Anakims. But the Moabites called them Emim. The Horims also dwelt in Seir before times, but the children of Esau succeeded them.
But the children of Esau succeeded them. See, the children of Esau took over from those Hamites, who he called the Horims. He said the Moabites took over from those Hamites, talking about the Emims. Everybody was getting land that come from Shem. Go ahead.
When they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possessions, which the Lord gave unto them.
See, so now you should see it wasn't just Israel. All these other countries was taken over. That's why Israel was really weak, because all the other people had took their land, and Israel got scared at first. Oh, it's giants over there. Well, look, they already knocked off giants to get their countries. And y'all know y'all got the real God who split the Red Sea from you, and you worried about some giants. That's why that didn't make no sense. But the Lord was giving everybody land from Shem. Go ahead. Skip to
19.
19 and go ahead.
And when thou comest now over against the children of Ammon, distress them not.
Now, another son of Shem, he said, don't distress them. You're not getting their land. You're not getting Esau land. You're not getting Moab land. You're not getting the Ammon land. Don't distress them. Why?
Nor meddle with them, for I will not give thee of the land of the children of Ammon any possessions, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession.
See, God said he giving it. See, you thought he just gave Israel some land. See, God got a big picture he going on here. He dealing with all nations on this earth. He know all of them. He dealing with all of them. He gave these people their land. The children of Lot, Moab, Ammon, also Esau. Go ahead.
That also was accounted a land of giants.
See, before Ammon got there, the people occupied their land was giant. See, all these lands are right in what's known as the Middle East too. That's why they got the country named Ammon Jordan to this day. Because that goes all the way back here. Go ahead.
That also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt there in old time. And the Ammonites and them Zamzumims.
And the Ammonites called them Zamzumims. That's what the Ammonites call them. Go ahead.
A great people, and many and tall as their Anakims. But the Lord destroyed them before them. And they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead.
See, everybody's succeeding, but you know who they succeed? They succeed in the Hamites who started these dynasties all. Now it's all of Israel's brothers, the Semitic people, the ones from Shem taking over. Keep reading.
Skip down to 30.
Yeah, skip down to verse 30 and go ahead.
But Shihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass by him.
See, now, Sihon, king of Heshbon, this is the Amorites again. Now, the Lord taking their land. That's who he giving the land to Israel from. He taking it. So when they got by there, they talked to him like they wanted to get by, but really they going to fight him because he got to fall because he is a Hamite. So Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass by him. Go ahead.
For the Lord thy God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him unto thy hand as apparent this day. And the Lord said unto me, behold, I have begun to give Shihon and his land before thee began to possess, that thou mayest inherit this land.
Go ahead.
Then Shihon came out against us, he and all his people, and fight at Jahaz. And the Lord our God delivered him before us, and we smote him and his sons and all his people.
See, they smote him, and what they do?
And we took all his cities, and at that time.
See, they took all their land. They took all his cities at that time. But they couldn't take the other lands because the Lord wasn't just operating on behalf of Israel. He was operating on the sons of Shem, period. Because it was their time. The Lord set this up. Go ahead.
And utterly destroyed the men and the women and the little ones of every city.
Go ahead.
We left none to remain. Only the cattle we took for a prey unto ourselves, and the spoil of the city which we took.
Okay, that's good. Now go to Jeremiah, the 4th chapter. So that's what Israel did, but we see Israel wasn't alone. You had Esau, you had Moab, Ammon, all of them took over the land in those days. Now, Israel and the other sons of Shem couldn't last forever because eventually the Lord going to get the sons of Japhet their time. And that's where we at now. Jeremiah 4 and verse 1. Go ahead.
If thou wilt return, O Israel, saith the Lord, return unto me. And if thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove.
See, the Lord told Israel once we in our land, been there for years now. He said, look, if y'all come back to me and do what you're supposed to do and serve me, you won't remove. Other than that, if you don't, get ready. I'm going to kick you out of here. Because the Lord don't play. See, the Lord even told Israel when he gave them the promised land. He said, look, don't get in here and act crazy. You know it was some people here before y'all got here. They was acting crazy. I kicked them up out of here. That's how y'all got here. Don't get here and act crazy. I will kick you out of here. And this is exactly what happened. But the Lord is doing things on multiple fronts, because when he kicked us out, it was time for the Gentiles now to rule. That's why we read already, Jesus said, Israel, they're going to be scattered into slavery, led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem going to be trodden down of the Gentiles until that time is up. So now, he said, if you return, good, you won't remove, but he knew they wasn't. So what they do, verse 5, go ahead.
Declare ye in Judah, and publish in Jerusalem, and say, blow ye the trumpet in the land. Cry, gather together, and say, assemble yourselves, and let us go into the defense city. Set up the standard towards Zion. Retire, say not, for I will bring evil from the north.
Lord said, I'm going to bring
destruction.
I'm going to bring evil from the north. See, he's talking about the Gentiles now. And a great destruction. And just in case you don't believe it, what did verse 7 say?
The lion is come up from his thicket.
The lion, that represented Babylon, the first Gentile rulership. The lion has come up from his thicket, he said. Go ahead.
And the destroyer of the Gentile is on his way.
And the destroyer of the Gentile. See, he's telling Israel now, your days is numbered. You don't want to listen to me, your days is numbered. I'm going to bring them Gentiles on you. But guess what? It's going to be the times of the Gentiles when he do that. Because everybody got their time. Ham was ruling first. The sons of Shem knocked all of them off. Wasn't just Israel. Got the promised land. We saw all those Shemites got land from the Emims, the Zamzumims, all of them Mims. They took land from them. Because it was Shem's time to rule the earth and do good. And Israel come from Shem, so we had one of the greatest dynasties. Our dynasty was based on serving God. We even had other nations serving God like us for a time. They understood. That's where Queen of Sheba come from Ethiopia, come to learn about God. So that was Israel. It wasn't just Israel time, it was Shem time. Now he said, I'm going to send them Gentiles on y'all and they're going to take over. He said, the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. Go ahead.
He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate.
He going to make your land desolate. Go ahead.
And thy city shall be laid waste without an inhabitant.
Without an inhabitant. Go to Jeremiah 27 now. Jeremiah 27. And pick it up at verse 1.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus says the Lord to me, make thee bonds and yokes, bounds and yokes, bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck.
And do what?
And send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah.
Now the Lord showing Jeremiah, he said, you're going to make you some bonds and yokes, and I want you to send them to these countries, because see, what we're going to find is just like the Lord knocked off all the Hamites. When the Lord was fed up with Israel, it wasn't just Israel's time was up. All the sons of Shem time was up. Because we read where the Lord said, don't touch the land, Esau land. Don't touch Ammon land. Right. Don't touch Moab land. That's their land. I gave that to them. But now, when their time is up and it's the times of the Gentiles going to take them all down. See, that's what we don't get. We went into slavery. We got scattered out. We got done worse. But the Gentiles took over and started ruling everybody. See, it's the times of the Gentiles, period. So that's what he's telling these other nations. He said, make you some yokes, and I want you to send them to the king of Edom, that's Esau, and the king of Moab, and the king of the Ammonites. All of these sons of Shem, and you send the message, this yoke. What's this message about? Verse 4.
And command them to say unto their masters, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say unto your masters, I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
See, this is the bottom line. God said, I made all of this. But he talking about other countries. See, I already said Israel, I'm bringing the Gentiles against you. The lion has come up from his thicket. But it wasn't just Israel. He said, you tell these other nations, I made the earth. I put man on the earth. I give it to who I want to. And guess what? It's getting ready to be a change of dynasty now. It's getting ready to change hands. That's what he about to tell them. Go ahead.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve.
He said, now I'm giving it to Nebuchadnezzar. You know why? Because he's the first Gentile ruler. He said, I'm giving it to the Gentiles now. But this is Noah's last son to reign. Ham reigned first, Shem reigned. Now it's Japheth's turn, the Gentile. And it started with Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead.
And all nations shall serve him.
All nations shall serve him and his son. How long?
And his son's sons. Until the very time of his land come, and then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
See, until the time is up. That's what it boiled down to. Verse 8.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon.
See, and you serving him to this day, because what the Lord started with him is still in full force. That's why when you get to Revelation, the Lord still call it Babylon, because this is where it started at. That's why we're going to read. He said it's mystery Babylon, because this is a mystery to the average person. So even though some other Gentiles are ruling, it's still the Gentiles, and in the Lord's eyes, it's still Babylon. Because he said, I gave it to Nebuchadnezzar. He going to run it till it's over with. What Nebuchadnezzar started is still in full force. Go ahead.
Will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword, and with the phantom, and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
He said, if you don't serve him, I'm gonna let him consume you. Go right until Ezekiel 7. Ezekiel 7. Right to Ezekiel 7. And pick it up at verse 1.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, also, thou son of man, thus says the Lord God unto the land of Israel, and in the end is come upon the four corners of the land.
See, he was telling Israel, your time is up. See, it's just like the Amorites and the Hamites had their time. And he said the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. When their iniquity is full, Israel and all the Semitic people took over. But the same thing is here. When Israel starts sinning, their time was up. So he's telling Israel, and in the end is come upon the four corners of the land. Verse 3.
Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations.
Lord said, I'm going to get you. But we already saw Nebuchadnezzar going to take Israel off. But he didn't just take Israel. He took all the whole area down that was ran by sons of Shem. Go ahead.
And man, I shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abomination shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Thus says the Lord God, an evil and only evil, behold, is come.
He said, an evil and only evil is coming. Go ahead.
An end is come, the end is come. It watches for thee. Behold, it is come.
He said, time is up. You see, it's a time for everything. It was time for Israel to get the promised land. Hey, when they messed up, hey, the end came. The time was up. It's a time for everything. Now it's going into the time of the Gentiles. Go right into Ezekiel 35. Go right into Ezekiel 35. Because when Israel time up, it wasn't just their time, it was the Ammonites' time. He said Nebuchadnezzar going to rule y'all too. Moab, Esau, the Arabs, everybody. That's why the Gentiles run things with an iron fist to this day. You know why? I know God gave it to them. It's their time. Ezekiel 35 and 3, read it.
And say unto it, thus says the Lord God, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee.
Now he said he's going to deal with Mount Seir. That's Esau, who land he told us not to touch. But when we got kicked into captivity, hey, they took advantage of that. They took advantage of our situation. And they kind of riding with the Gentiles in that regard. But go ahead.
And I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
Now, why are you going to do that?
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
See, pay attention. He said, because you did this to Israel in the time of their calamity, when the Lord was punishing us for our sin, and he was letting Nebuchadnezzar take over, he said, you took advantage of it, Esau. And he said, you shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Notice what else he said. In the time that their iniquity had an end. See, everybody needs to know. You can sin much as you want to. It's up to you. But your iniquity going to have an end. God got the date set. So it's best to repent before that day get here. See, Israel iniquity had it. What do we read about the Amorites? Their iniquity was not yet full. See, it hadn't filled up and hadn't got to an end. But when it got to an end, all the Hamites got wiped off. They still here, they still around, but they wasn't ruling like they was ruling. Same thing with Israel and the other sons of Shem. When their time was up, the Lord brought the Gentiles in there and they cleaned house. Because he said, Israel, that the time that they iniquity had an end. It's it. You didn't reach the end. The end done got here for you. That's how I know the times of the Gentiles is ending soon. Their iniquity got to have an end. The Lord ain't going to give it to them forever. Go ahead now and skip down to verse 14.
Thus says the Lord God, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate, as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel.
He's talking to Esau, our brother, because they took advantage when we went into slavery. They took advantage. That's why they call themselves Jews now. The Lord see everything. He said, but when I bless the whole earth to rejoice, when he come back, he said, he going to deal with Esau. He said, because you rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate. So what?
So will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea.
That's the Greek word for Edom, Idumea. Go ahead.
Even all of it. And they shall know that I am the Lord.
Okay, let's go to the New Testament. Go to James 1, because what happened to Israel? Is it still relevant? Well, let's see what James had to say about it. Israel got kicked out. That's how Esau took advantage. But it was the end, is the time that our iniquity had an end. James 1:1. We read this a lot, but we're going to read it again because it showed that it was still significant for him to write to this lost people. James 1:1, read it.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings.
See, he wrote to the 12 tribes, so they still around, but they got scattered out of the promised land. The same promised land that he took from the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, and gave to Israel. When their time was up, he kicked us out. Jesus called it. He said, you're going to be led away captive in all nations. And now the Gentiles' time has come. And they going to do what they want to do. They ain't doing right. He said they trodden it down, but it's their time to do it how they want to. Can't nobody change. That's why people done tried to come against, well, we gonna do this. You know, I can hear some, you got black activists, they probably don't like us less, like, why you saying they say, look, you ain't did nothing to stop them. Why you ain't stopped them in all these years? You know why? Because it's their time. You can't stop them. But they don't like when you put it from God, showing that God gave it to them. But look, you can't do nothing to change it. Let's go further. Go to Hosea 8. Hosea 8. Because Israel is scattered out, but we're going to see where they scattered out at and what their treatment is right now in this times of the Gentiles. Hosea 8:1. This speaks volumes in itself. Go ahead.
Israel is swallowed up.
Israel, that's why we don't even know who we are. We really messed up. We don't know whether we coming or going. We don't know if we Ham. We want to be Ham one day. We want to be Gentiles. We want to be Kemet. We don't know who the heck we are because we swallowed it up. See, we getting the worst of it all, but the moral of the story is it's the times of the Gentiles, period. It's their time. And see, that's why they didn't fool themselves to think that they control the word of God. So you got the Pope of Rome over in Rome saying, you know, well, it's our time to do it. Look, it ain't your time to run the church because you can't run it. God didn't get that to you. He gave you the power to rule. But since they got the power, they didn't call themselves taking the church, but you can't run the church. That's why it's all backwards. Everything messed up. That's why they time at the end. God ain't going to let it keep going on like this. So he said, Israel is swallowed up. Now where they at?
Now shall they be among the Gentiles.
And how they treated?
As a vessel wherein no pleasure.
See, that's where Israel is. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles, scattered out, not even in the homeland. And you are treated like a vessel that don't nobody care nothing about. A vessel wherein there's no pleasure. That's the way it is. But it's under the Gentiles' watch. Let's go further. Go to Zechariah 1. Zechariah 1. We're going to wrap it up. Zechariah 1. And pick it up at 18. Read it when you get it. Zechariah 1 and 18. Zechariah 1 and 18.
Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw and beheld 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem.
Now you got 4 horns, he said. 4 horns that have scattered Judah, Israel, and Judah, right? He said 4 horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem.
Right.
4, that's all. 4 horns. But we're going to see who they are. We already should know. We didn't read it repeatedly. Go ahead. But this ain't going to last forever. Go ahead.
And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters.
Now he showed them 4 carpenters. You got 4 horns. You got 4 carpenters. Go ahead.
Then said I, What come these to do?
What come these to do? What these carpenters going to do? They come to help. The horns that scattered, the carpenters come to fix things. That's all the way down in Revelation. But go ahead.
And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head.
See, Israel scattered to the utmost. You can't even lift up your head. That's why right now, it's hard to even talk about slavery. What do you want to talk about slavery for? Just get over it. You go, okay. All right. You can't. It's a shame. But it's the time of the Gentiles. And no matter what we have tried, the only thing we haven't tried that's going to make our situation better, of course, is turning back to God and worshiping him. Well, we tried it, and it's working. And we know it worked. But other than that, it's the time of the Gentiles still. So he said he showed you the 4 horns, then he showed you 4 carpenters, and he said, these are the horns. The 4 horns are those which scattered Judah so that no man did lift up his head. But what the 4 carpenters coming to do in the end when their time is up? Go ahead.
But these are to come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it.
Oh, see, Israel scattered, 12 tribes scattered out. They're among the Gentiles wherein there's no pleasure. And how they get scattered out? They got scattered out by 4 horns, and he called it the horns of the Gentiles. Well, we knew that from Jeremiah 4 because he said the Gentile is on his way. The lion is come up from the thicket. He come to knock y'all off. And that's where it started. That's when Daniel, a bunch of people went into slavery back then. But then the Gentiles put the finishing touches on it in Jesus' time, after Jesus called it in the Roman days. They scattered the rest out, period. But he said it's 4 horns. He called it the horns of the Gentiles, and he got these carpenters referring to these great angels in Revelation who's going to fix things. But we'll get to that later. Go now to Daniel 7. Daniel 7, show you the four horns of the Gentiles that have scattered here. See, the Lord gets particular. But all of that began the times of the Gentiles when they knocked Israel and Esau and Ammon and Moab off. Daniel 7:1, go ahead.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and a vision of his head upon his bed.
And what did he do with it?
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea.
He said the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Let's see the effect of the four winds of heaven. Go ahead.
And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
And four great beasts came up from the sea. This is identical to the four horns. These are the horns or nations of the Gentiles who scattered Israel out. And Jesus even said himself, they trod down the land, but it cannot last forever. Everybody have their time, and their time eventually come to an end. Go ahead.
The first was like a lion and had eagle wings. I beheld till the wings thereof was plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it.
See, the first was like a lion. That's where he said the lion has come up from his thicket. That's Nebuchadnezzar and the Gentile. That's where the Gentile started. Right here, Nebuchadnezzar, this is the Babylonian Empire. That's what this lion represents. We ain't going to deal with all four of them, but all of them comprise the Gentile dynasty. We just want to cut to the chase down to verse 17 and see the ultimate conclusion of all four of them. These are the same as Zechariah, the horns of the Gentiles. That's why it was four horns. We got four beasts here. They the same. Go ahead.
These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
See, these are four kings or kingdoms from the Gentile dynasty that's going to rise. That's all it's been, really. Even though you got different nations ruling, but you only have four world ruling empires out of these Gentiles. And it's Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks, and now Rome. Go ahead.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
And that's the whole gist of it. When the times of the Gentiles is over, it's time for the saints to rule forever. Right here on earth. You ain't going to heaven, never. You ain't going there. The goal is for the Lord to come back and take over, knock the Gentiles in the head, and take over from there, because their time is going to be up. Everybody had their time. That's only fair. So he said, these great beasts, which are four kings, which shall rise out of earth, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. How long the saints going to have the kingdom that's on the earth, by the way? Go ahead.
And possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
Forever, even if that ain't enough for you, forever and ever. And we talking on the earth. Skip to verse 27. Let's make sure. Go ahead.
And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven.
Under the whole heaven is where the kingdom is. Not up in heaven. On the earth. Under the whole heaven. Who is going to be given to one more time?
Shall be given to the people of the saints, the Most High.
That's who we waiting on. We waiting on the times of the Gentiles to end so we can rule. That's the next step. Jesus told us to pray for it too. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth. He didn't tell you to pray to go to heaven. Go ahead.
Whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom.
See, this kingdom that's going to be given to the saints that's under the whole heaven is an everlasting kingdom. Go ahead.
And all dominions shall serve and obey him.
And everybody going to serve and obey him. Just like from the beginning, Nimrod started a kingdom, didn't he? From among the Hamites. Nimrod was an Ethiopian. He was a Hamite. He started first dynasties. He started. Everybody started listening to him. Yeah, he great. He's something else. Man, Nimrod's something else. They started listening to him. They still got stuff dedicated to him now. Okay, after the Ham ran their course, then it was time for Israel and the other Shemites to rule. They had great kingdom. We had great King David and Solomon ruled over many countries, but their time ended eventually. Then it was the time of the Gentiles, the sons of Japhet. But now their time got to end, and the Lord going to rule permanently after that. Skip down to verse 13. Let's see who going to bring this kingdom for the saints. Go ahead.
And I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. They brought him here before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
See, we talking about the everlasting kingdom. See, nobody couldn't do that before. Ham couldn't do it. Shem couldn't do it. Even Israel, when we was doing good from Shem, we couldn't do it. The Gentiles can't do it. Because it only can be done in righteousness. And that's through God and his chosen. Jesus is the king. He's king of kings. This is Jesus here. It said he come with the cloud. See, when Jesus went back to heaven, he ascended up with the clouds. And the Bible say you got to come back the same way. It even say every eye going to see him, brothers and sisters. But when he come back, he going to take over the kingdom from the Gentiles. Because they're going to be ruling until he come back. Let's go to Luke 21 and show you where we started at and how when he come with the clouds, that's going to put an end to it. Luke 21. Luke 21 and verse 24 again. This is where we started at in the beginning. But now it should make perfect sense. Go ahead, read it.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
That's right.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
See, it started in 70 AD, what he talking about. When they sacked Jerusalem, killed up a bunch of people, shipped the rest of us out into slavery all over. That's what he said, led away captive into all nations. Then he said, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles is over or fulfilled. And what he do, he take you right there to that time when it's fulfilled and show you what's going to take place when their time is up. What's going to take place? Verse 25.
And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, and the sea and the waves room.
Hey, it's going to hit the fan when their time is up. This is how we know we're getting close. They can't hold it down much longer. They can't even keep peace among themselves. It's just like, hey, you know, Israel don't know how to conquer anyway. We've been trying to take over. We ain't been trying much. We've been marching and sitting in and stuff. But other people that tried to knock the Gentiles off. Look, the Gentiles going to do their own self in for the most part.
Right.
They're going to be fighting each other. That's what's going on now. They can't keep the peace. And then the Lord going to have to intervene to stop them from killing themselves and all of us. The Lord going to have to intervene. But he said it's going to be signs in the sun and moon, because this is when Jesus is going to roll the sky back. This is the last end of the Gentiles' reign. The sky going to roll back, and it's going to be distress upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring. 26.
Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
He gonna shake it up. Go ahead.
And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory.
Now what you think? People talking about a rapture. You think he coming in a cloud with power and great glory to sneak back to heaven? No, he coming to take over. This is what it told you in Daniel 7. One came with the clouds because he left with the clouds, and he got to come back with the cloud. And he coming back to take over the kingdom that's been bestowed upon him, that all nations going to rule him, and he giving it to the saints. So they going to see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory, but this puts an end. When Jesus cracked that sky, he's coming to put an end to the times of the Gentiles. And we know we getting close. You can look at the signs and see that. Go ahead, keep reading.
And when these things began to come to pass.
And they starting to happen already. We see all the drama. We see all the wars and rumors of wars. Go ahead.
Then look up and lift up your head.
Because what's coming?
For your redemption draweth nigh.
See, that's what we waiting on. Go to Romans 11. Romans 11 and verse 25. See, and God's still using Israel. He ain't done away with Israel. That's another thing. But see, the Gentiles can't tell us that because they saying they run it now. God dealing directly with them. But it just don't work like that. Anybody can get salvation. Gentiles can get salvation. But they got to come through the plan that God set up. And that's with Israel. That's why Paul told these Romans, God ain't cast away Israel. So he finalized it here, verse 25. Go ahead.
For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit.
What do you want them to know?
That blindness is happened to Israel.
Until what?
Until the fullness of the Gentiles become in.
Until the fullness of the Gentiles become, until their time is full. Just like the Amorites. Until the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't full, right? Their time wasn't up. So the Lord said, I can't knock them off yet. I got to let Israel stay out there and wait. They can't come back here to the fourth generation and take over this land because the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. Then when Israel's iniquity was full, when their iniquity had an end, he knocked Israel off. Well, the same thing with the Gentiles. When the times of the Gentiles is up. So until then, Israel going to be blind in part. We're going to be messed up to a degree. Until the times of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Then the Lord bringing all Israel back. The ones that don't want to go, he'd kill them. He ain't going to leave them in the country they at. He going to bring them over there to the wilderness and then kill them. So they ain't going to matter. And the rest, what's going to happen to the rest of the Israelites?
And so all Israel shall be saved.
All Israel shall be saved. That don't mean you automatically a shoo-in because you might be dead if you make the Lord mad. Go ahead.
As it is written. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
See, that's Jesus. He coming to turn away ungodliness from Jacob. He coming to redeem Jacob, but it's at the end after the Gentiles have run their course. Let's go to Revelation 11 now, and we're going to show you the last end of the Gentile dynasty. See, this is the Gentiles' time. Revelation 11. Starting with them four horns, which was Babylon. And it end with the last one, which is Rome, but spiritually, the Lord still called it Babylon. Revelation 11 and 1. Go ahead.
And there was given me a reed, like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein.
But do what?
But the court which is without the temple, leave out. And measure it not.
Why?
For it is given unto the Gentiles.
Oh, it's given to the Gentiles. Because they run it. They going to run it to the end, brothers and sisters. Ain't going to be no another great dynasty. You know, the Arabs ain't going to take over and run none. People act like, well, see, they might do something. Islam going to take over. Never. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be the times of the Gentiles until the Lord take over. Then the Lord is taking over. So he said, it is given unto the Gentiles. And how long they going to do some dirt in the Holy Land at the end? Go ahead.
And the holy city shall be, holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months.
3.5 years. That's tribulation. That's the end of it. When the 3.5 years is up, times of the Gentiles is up. That's going to be the worst time man has seen, though, because the Gentiles going to go out with a bang. They got the weapons to do it. They like, we ain't going to go down without a fight. Even to the point of fighting the Lord. And we don't know this. We've been in church every Sunday, some people, and they don't know that the Gentiles are gearing up and they're going to fight God to try not to let their time in. Because once you got power, it's hard to let it go. You see what happened to Pharaoh? He wouldn't let it go. Their time was up. Skip down to verse 15. He going to show you. Go ahead.
And the seven angels sound.
Now, that's the end. Now, the 3.5 years is up. They done trod down the Holy Land. God going to let it do it one last time. He probably going to be gritting his teeth waiting. He going to let them trod down. They going to be doing that dirt. They going to be killing saints like some of us, they're going to be killing saints. And then God going to crack that sky and crack their head. He said the seventh angel sounded and what?
And there was great voices in heaven.
And what the voice is saying? It's time for the rapture? Nope. Go ahead.
Saying, the kingdom of this world become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. And he shall reign forever and ever.
It's time for our God to reign. But who is he taking over from? The Gentiles. Their time is ended. They see they're going to be ruling it right to the last day. 3.5 years, they're going to be doing dirt because they got the power. They got the weapons. They got the power. They're going to rule it to the end. But when that angel blow the trumpet, the announcement is going to be made. The kingdoms of this world, that includes every last one of them. You think the Gentiles going to want to hear that? They can be like, who got that loudspeaker saying that? Who is that say that? They must don't know who we are. The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. There's no going to heaven. He coming to take this over. And he going to reign forever and ever. Let's make sure we know how the Gentile nations feel, because they the ones that matter. What they feel about it. Verse 18.
And the nations were angry.
They upset. They don't like that. Because they run it. They want to keep running. They don't care if they run it in the ground. I just want to run it. They don't care. Go ahead.
And thy wrath is come.
The nations were angry and thy wrath is come. God got some wrath. Go ahead.
And the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thou servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name.
But what he going to do to the wicked? Go ahead.
Small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroyeth the earth.
But he going to destroy them that destroy the earth. Let's move further. Go to Revelation 19. Let's show you they serious though. They mad and they going to literally come out to try to deal with them. Because they ain't going to like the fact that he said he about to take over from them. They ain't going to like it. Revelation 19 and 1. Go ahead. 11, I'm sorry. Revelation 19, 11. Go ahead.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True.
That's the Lord. Go ahead.
And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
He coming to judge and make war. Don't nobody tell you Jesus going to do that, but he is. Go ahead.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
Because he going to do some killing. Go ahead.
And his name is called the Word of God.
This is Jesus. Don't nobody tell you this part of Jesus, though. He got the power. He going to put the Gentiles down. That's the only one going to be able to do it. Go ahead.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean.
Go ahead.
And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations.
He going to smite the nations. Go ahead.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepresses of fierceness and his wrath of Almighty God.
See, why we can't get this? This is simple. But preachers not reading this because they too busy trying to make you feel good and get some tithe money. They ain't reading nothing like this to give you some information. Go ahead.
And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
That's who coming. We should all know who that is. But what is he coming to do? I heard of the rapture, but people don't preach this. There is no rapture. He is coming to make war and take over from the Gentiles because their time will have ended. Go ahead.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God.
See, he's going to be a great supper because he's going to kill up some of everybody. Go ahead.
That ye may eat the flesh of kings.
The flesh of kings. Go
and
ahead.
the flesh of captains.
He telling birds, that's something else, boy. God tell the birds and the animals, get ready. I got a feast for y'all. I'm finna do some killing. He's not playing. They're going to eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, who else?
And the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great.
Hey, that ain't pretty, but it's fair. Go ahead.
And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
See, they straight up going to come out to make war against the Lord because they don't want to let this dynasty go. So the beast, which is this revived Roman Empire, and the leader over it, and the false prophet, the religious leader for Rome, they going to come out and they going to make war. He said, I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Go ahead.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him.
The religious and the military, military man and the religious man. Go ahead.
With which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast.
And what the Lord going to do with them?
And them that worship the image, worship his image, these both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone.
Lord putting them straight to hell. Go ahead.
And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls was filled with their flesh.
Just like he said. One more place, Revelation 17. Back up to 17. But it's just like it started. It started with the Hamites by Nimrod, and this kingdom was Babel. And then it went to Shem, and then it started with Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, and it's the same thing. The Lord looking at it the same way where it started. 17:3. Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
Full of what?
Full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
See, whenever you see blasphemy, that means you're trying to bring a little religion in there too. Because this is a false church that come out of this dynasty. Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
So she rich, but she dirty. Go ahead.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the
Mystery
Great.
Babylon. Notice it's still Babylon. It's a mystery though, don't nobody know. But it's still Babylon. Mystery Babylon the Great. Go ahead.
The mother of harlots.
The mother of harlots. That's why even Rome called themselves the mother church. Of all the other church, they say we the boss of it. And you ain't lying. You done messed all of them up. You done messed all your daughters up. They all believe Sunday is the Sabbath. They all of them. That's how you know you're a daughter of Rome. They gave you the Sabbath day. And you got the nerve to have some Protestant preachers try to argue with some Catholic priests. Talking about, well, y'all wrong. Y'all worshiping Mary. Y'all do this. That's what I heard the Protestant priest say. And the Catholic priest said, well, you've been doing everything else we told you to do. You go to church on Sunday. And the Protestant said, well, you know, they said, look, Catholic priest said, you can't show me that in the Bible. That ain't in the Bible. We gave you that, and you follow it. So you've been listening pretty good except for a couple of things. Because they the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Go ahead.
And the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
See, she been killing saints and she gonna kill some more. Go ahead.
And with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus.
See, don't nobody tell you Jesus got some martyrs. That means people gonna get their life up for the truth. Why would you have to do that unless everything set up is contrary to the Lord? You in a system that's totally backwards. So you got some martyrs of Jesus that's gonna have to get their life up. Go ahead.
And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Okay, skip to verse 12 and we're gonna wrap it up. Verse 12, because he gave you this woman riding this beast, but the beast also had 10 horns. What's the 10 horns represent? And this is how it's gonna end, brothers and sisters. Go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdoms as yet.
See, this was foretold long ago, but it's coming down to our day now. Go ahead.
But receive power as the king 1 hour with the beast.
What these 10 kings gonna do? Go ahead.
These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
See, this is united. front, but it's reviving the Roman Empire. They're going to get a power unto the beast. Go ahead.
These shall make war with the Lamb.
And in the end, they're going to even make war with the Lamb. They don't know he the lion now, though. They're going to make war with the Lamb. We just saw that in Revelation 19. It's going to end in war because the Gentiles don't want to let God rule when he come to take over. Just like Pharaoh couldn't believe somebody was bigger than him, going to knock him down. So he said, these shall make war with the Lamb. Go ahead.
And the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.